Look out for one another. So you've got rich developers coming in here to build and trash moving into plunder. I wonder why there's some harm in here. This whole county has a major drug problem. Heroin and fentanyl and all the other stupid crap people do are killing people every week.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our
Walgreens is being sued by the state of Florida.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Youth Connect.
This place has a racist reputation too, and one reason for that is
Friday evening.
Actually, for many road improvements.
Hope everybody had a good week so far. Okay, great. Everybody's good. I was just trying to mute. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Again, hope everybody had a very good week so far. Everybody had a good week so far?
So far.
Okay, wonderful. I want to welcome all of you. We have Henderson. Good evening, Henderson.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, okay. Welcome to our Youth Connect.
Hi, bro.
Peace.
Oh, you're connected with Brother Lawrence?
That's my brother.
Oh, okay, welcome. So you are sister, this is Reverend Wooden's brother-in-law, Henderson,
Yeah.
or this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Happy that you're joining this session. We have Sister Barbara. Good evening. And we have Cara Adeline and Samuel. Happy to have all of you with us this evening. I hope y'all had, well, are you on vacation now? Okay, great. Okay, my dogs are doing a number. Okay, Sister Barbara, so I'm going to ask you to pray. I think you might have prayed for us last week, but I'm going to ask you to pray for this week again. So could you pray for us, please?
Okay. Heavenly Father, we want to give you much time and praise God for allowing us this privilege of seeing another Friday, another Youth Connect. Father, you've been so good to us. You have blessings with showers of blessings. Lord, you have blessed us with relatively good life in terms of no one so far was ill over the past few days. Father, we want to thank you for your goodness and your protection. And Father, we bring this session to you this evening again. We pray, Lord, for the presenter. We pray, God, that
Oh, Sister Barbara, okay, thank you, Sister Barbara. I don't know, something seemed to be wrong with your frequency seemed to be, something's wrong, went wrong with your frequency. I don't know. It kind of was drawn out. So we're happy to have Auntie Cassandra. So Cassandra, thank you for joining us this evening. And Sister Alder.
To be here.
Okay. Thank you for joining us as well. So it's 6 o'clock. Without any further ado, we're happy to have Brother Lawrence to come and share with us on planting and planting our food. The planting our food isn't seeming to go away at all. It comes back. We have critical issues to deal with. We talk about food security. Sometimes it goes up. It's almost like the fuel efficiency and the solar energy. It goes up. It goes away and then it comes back again. Everybody's hearing me well?
Yeah, I'm hearing you clearly.
Okay, because I thought, okay. So at this time, Brother Lawrence he actually is into planting and growing and sustaining himself. And so he is not only technically sound, but he's also practically sound in the area. And so we want to make sure that we have a good production. And the thing is, we shouldn't just grow, but we should grow things that we're going to use. And that's one of the things. So if you don't like okras, I don't think you should be planting okras unless you plant it for your neighbors. So so you're going to plant things you want to use. So he's going to tell us those kind of things we can plant this evening, and we would want people to show us later down their produce, what they were successful at growing later in the year. He would tell us how long it takes to produce a crop, and we would see what we produce later in the year. So over to you, Brother Lawrence. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Pastor Blackman. Good evening to everyone. Let me put a disclaimer up front. I am not an agronomist, but I've spent 38 years in agriculture, and I have been doing farming since I have retired. So I'm a registered farmer, and I've been practicing agriculture basically all my life. I like to say that I plant from rice to sugarcane. And this evening, I hope to impart some of the knowledge that I have gained over the years with you, hoping that at the end of the day, you'll be able to grow better food and more food, and food that you can actually enjoy. Some of the questions that people often ask would be when to plant. And the answer I like to give to that is plant long before you think you need to eat the plant that you want to plant. Sound complicated. But in other words, do not wait until you want bananas to plant bananas. Do not wait until there's a shortage of pumpkins to plant pumpkins. However, there are some limitations. Right now, everybody is in the crave of planting or growing more food. And this is because of the war, because of the supply chain being disrupted. We can't get the food that we want when we want. So sometimes we have to go to substitutes. And we have some excellent substitutes, well, better produce locally than some that we actually substitute for. Our taste buds seems to be foreign, but if you can't get the foreign, you have to resort back to what our mothers and fathers used to teach us years ago. So a good time to plant is before the rain falls. So that when you plant, you get that rain falling on the plants and causing them to mature. Now, all the irrigation that you can put on crops, nothing causes them to grow faster and better than the rain that God sent. It seems to have the correct mixture. And so last week we talked about conserving water. And I hope Carol and all of those remember to practice. And you did have your bath. Anybody had your bath out in the pet bottle last week? Anybody practice it? Nobody?
I didn't do it. I thought about it, but I didn't do it. Anybody else? Oh, Cassandra. I didn't do it. So that's still an outstanding piece of homework we got to do.
Right, we got to practice that and using a pet bottle of water. Yeah, so another way we can conserve water is the rainwater off the roof of the house. You get a container and you can collect that water. The only problem that you have would be to control the mosquitoes. And there are several ways you can control the mosquito. You can put a net over it, over the water, or there's some thing called dunks that you can get from the hardware store that you can put into the water, which would prevent the mosquitoes from breeding or reduce the population of the mosquitoes. All right, so before the rain, yes, if you go through the country, you will see that the plantation owners sometimes start to plant and you wonder, outside is so dry and they plant and then boom, down comes the rain. Because they're using the technology, there is an app on your Google app that you can use, called Wind, that tells you, give you a good weather forecast, predict it 5 days, just like what we get on CBC at night. So that's one way to when we should plant. Another thing is what type of crop we are going to plant. Depends on when we are going to plant. If you're going to plant, you want sorrel for Christmas, now is a good time that you can plant your sorrel. If you want yams, you're a bit late. Yams should be planted somewhere between April and May, just before the rain comes in. So if you would see a lot of yams being grown around the country, looking very nice at this point in time, because they were planted the correct time. If you're going to plant like potato slip, or what we call the cuttings, I have one cutting here. I hope you can see this cutting, right? Potato slip. Then just before the rainfall or soon after the rainfall, you can plant that, making sure that you press it firmly in the ground so that it catch quickly. All right. Come on, now let's go. Next slide.
Lawrence, you told us how to plant the potato slip, but what about, you didn't tell us how to plant the yam
Oh,
and the sorrel.
the yam is cut. You take the tube, what you would normally eat, and you cut about a quarter, about 2 inches, about 2 inches in length, 2 to 3 inches in length. Think of the yam as a whole, like a tube. You take it 2 inches, about 2 to 3 inches wide, and then you cut that down in half. So a piece of yam about 2 to 3 inches long will give you 2 plants. So you cut that down in half. And then when you're going to plant that, you want to preserve it or protect it from the insects. So you're going to submerge that in some insecticide. And you don't want any fungus on it. So there's a fungicide. You can get a fungicide and insecticide and soak it in for a few hours. Then take it out, allow it to dry, and then plant it. Now, when you're planting it now, the cut side should be facing up. So the rough side with the skin, that is the part that goes down into the soil. And that is where the roots and tubers will start to form. So you slice it like you slice a banana, like a mango, and the sliced part is up, looking up. And you don't want to bury it too far in the ground either. If you bury it too far, it's going to take a little time. You want to press it firmly into the soil, and then you can cover it. The insecticide would prevent the ants and the insects from destroying it or eating it, and the fungicide would prevent it from getting like what you call moss and allow it to grow thing. Once it's germinated, then it's free sailing. But the land preparation for yams, the key for yam preparation is that the beds or the garden beds must be high, so that when the tubes start to go down into the soil, they have enough room to develop. Yes, Sister Oliver, I see your hand is up.
Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
You said it has sliced the yam, but I remember growing up, I don't know if it still happens, but we used to cut off the top, the hedge, which has the eye.
Uh-huh.
And my father used to put ashes on the piece that cut off before he planted.
Right, that's true. Some people use ashes, some people use white lime.
Okay.
And that would prevent it also from rotting. But
So
what we do, go ahead.
So you are saying that we can plant any part of the yam, because what I noticed that they used to just cut off the head, the top, and plant that part.
No, you can plant any part of the yam.
Okay.
You can take a yam that is a foot long,
Mm-hmm.
and it is about say it's 4 inches wide. You can cut that, and that can give you quite a few pieces of plantings of yams.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so.
Brother Lawrence, before you go, I mean, you said ashes, but everybody might not know what ashes mean. Correct. And you said ground preparation. Could we plant these things in a bucket?
But we're coming there, yes.
Okay, so tell me when you say ashes, what was the intent,
Ashes, well, no, because of the law preventing us from burning, but the ashes needs to be what is left after you burn something, that black stuff that remains. You burn some papers, you burn some wood, and then that black substance that remains, that is the ash. All right, Carol, Samuel, do you understand what we're talking about there?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Good. All right. So let's look at this picture here. I said there are 2 things that reduce your crop yields. 2 things. Anybody want to tell me those 2 things?
Monkeys?
Right, monkeys or pests. We call them pests, monkeys. Right, we have a long tail one there. But you also have, the farmers nowadays refer to 2-foot and 4-foot monkeys. Have anybody seen the
Tony, yeah, 2-foot monkey.
Tony wanted 2-foot monkeys.
Human.
I was there for a moment. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's the problem we have nowadays. The monkey will take some, but the 2-foot will take the majority, which is what we call perennial larceny. Basically, it is stealing. The Bible said thou shalt not steal. But there are some people who steal. I remember years ago, I had 2 heads of cabbage outside my bedroom window in a can. I got up in the morning and told my wife, we better cut that cabbage. She said, yes, I'm going to cook it in some rice. I like bush and rice. I go along to work and she put on the water in the saucepan, opened the back door, and went to cut the cabbage. When she got there, cabbage had been gone long. Somebody probably heard me. I don't know, they were eavesdropping, but they had greater need for it. And what we would say, they borrowed it. So that they didn't, up to now, they remember to bring it back. I planted some figs. I went to Mount Hillby, got these figs, brought them, plant them, and they bore a bunch. First bunch, first and only bunch, because they suffer with disease after that. And somebody borrowed the figs. Up to now, they haven't brought them back yet. So those are the people that we have, the pests that we have to look for. So there are two things we have to control, the pests and the weeds. Now, I want you to look at the photo to the right. Anybody can identify what the arrow is pointing to? Anybody can identify? Yam. Yes.
That's yam.
This is yam. This is yam vine growing. And anybody can identify this?
Grass.
Grass or weed, right. So if you want good yields from your yam, you got to make sure that you control the weeds and control them early. Because if you don't, the yam vine wraps around the weed takes up the nutrients that the yam should be getting, and then when you attempt to pull the weed out, what can very well happen is that you disturb the setting of the yam and damage the yam, so your yields are reduced. So when you see weeds like this, you got to take it out early and don't let it go into the yam vine. So two things then, the pests, the monkeys. How do you control the monkeys? Now, I have managed to save 2 yard beans. And I happen to save them because I took what we call a vegetable bag. You know, the farmers, you see green and yellow bag, green, yellow, and red bags, like what the potatoes come in. And I had to take that and put it over the plant to prevent the monkey from eating them. But the monkey eat almost everything that I grow. They eat some and they leave. The apples they eat. The only thing the monkeys are not eating yet, I think, is the peppers. But they're eating breadfruit, they're eating passion fruit, they're eating pomegranate.
I guess them gonna eat too.
But they're eating too much.
It's true.
Yeah. I think there are a little too many in the island.
I have a lot out here, a lot of families, man.
Yeah, I think yours come up by me. I see them crossing the road.
Or
Yeah.
if you say yours by me too.
I see a whole lot of them down here for true. Morning, you could hear them talking, man.
And they multiply very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I did, brother Marshall, well, I don't have a big lot like you, but I use the old CDs and string them across the garden.
And that worked?
It worked up to now, because they said that they don't like to see the nothing reflecting or something like that. So I use the CDs.
That's not quite true with the reflection, because they like to look in a glass. They like mirrors. But maybe it's working. Maybe the reflection from it. But there are several methods. Some people use jail straw, some people use newspaper, but they're getting smart now and they're reading.
Say that don't work now.
Yeah, they're getting accustomed to everything. But the thing is not to run them. If you throw at them, they retaliate. They're very vindictive. They come
And
back.
especially to women.
Right. And they're not afraid of women, and they will come back and they will destroy your crops. Pull them up and just throw them there. So you see them, don't throw at them, just look at them.
Not only destroy your crop, they're messing your yard. They're messing, look at you and go on, leave it there.
Yeah. Yeah, so those pests, we have to be careful. There are other pests that we have besides monkey that would destroy your crops, like worms. Anytime you see butterflies, a lot of butterflies in your crops, that is good and it's bad. Good if it is like pumpkin vine where they may pollinate the flowers, but otherwise they are laying eggs, which would produce worms, and the worms will destroy your crop. So you have to be vigilant. When you go out and you see a visual examination is critical. When you go out and you see down small droplings on your plants, it's usually a caterpillar somewhere around. Samuel, do you know the butterfly eggs? Can you recognize the butterfly eggs if you see them? Samuel or Carol?
No, please.
Okay, good. Now, the butterfly usually lay underneath the leaf. Like, so you have a cabbage. I have a cabbage here, and this is the top of the leaf. The butterfly will come and lay underneath here, the underside. And if you look and you see yellow, a bunch of, or a set of yellow little things. Yeah, the yellow cluster. That is usually the butterfly eggs. And once you see them, that is the best stage to destroy them. If you leave them, after a while, they hatch into little, you see little fine worms. And then by the time you see that the leaves is bitten, they have already multiplied. They have changed their stage from egg to the larvae, and they are the worms, and they're eating away your plants. So you have to go out and look underneath the leaves, and if you see them, make sure that you get rid of them. All right. So we're gonna move on. All right, we talk about seedlings. Seedlings are plants that are already germinated. So I have one here. You can see that. Everybody can see that. This is a seedling, what we call a seedling.
Yes, we can.
Now, when you have the seedling, it's already in a pot. It has roots and everything. You have to be very careful when you transfer this from the pot. So some people hold the stem and pull it up, and you damage or you squeeze it. You need to have enough moisture inside of the plant, inside the pot. Let me show you a pot. Right. So you go to the harvest, the pharmacy, the hardware store or the seed store, and you buy some seedlings like this. So you need to make sure that there's enough moisture in there so that when you want to take it out to transplant it, there's no resistance, that comes out easily. And you don't want to squeeze it. Then you're going to make sure then, because look, you can see roots all around, you're going to press this then into the soil without damaging the skin, the stem, this part here, the upward part. You don't want to damage the stem there. You don't want to squeeze that. So you want this part that's already in the soil, you make a little hole down into the container, and you're going to put this in, press it firmly, and water it. The best time to do that is early morning, before the sun comes out, so that it gets acclimatized to the condition before the hot sun comes out, or you transplant them late in the evening. You should not do any transplanting in the midday, except you have what we call drip irrigation or irrigation to wet the plant continuously. And there are several types of irrigation. You have what we call drip irrigation. That is, if you pass by and you see some black, like black hose running along the field, that is what we call drip irrigation. Then you have a sprinkler irrigation where the water, you see the water in the air running, spinning on a big gun. That is, but that takes more water. The drip irrigation is the way we're going to conserve water. All right. So the best thing to do it is late in the evening. We have the coolness of the night and the early morning for the plant to get accustomed to its new environment. So sealings are one of the methods in which we can.
Marshall, what about a watering can? Because you talk irrigation and sprinklers for big
right,
big area.
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question. You can do your own drip irrigation. If you're planting in a pot, you can take a PET bottle or a drink bottle, and you can fill it with water, put the cap back on, punch a small hole in the cap, and turn the bottle upside down in the container, and that water will drip, 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 just like the irrigation. So that is homemade drip irrigation.
And then again, Brother Marshall, put water inside the bottle and then put a hole in the cover. Cover it down.
Yeah, no, cover it down, and then use your ice pick and punch a hole in the top of the cap.
Okay.
You will have to string it over the plants.
You could, if you have the plant in a pot. Suppose the
if it's in a pot,
a container, yeah. Let's see. So this is the container. All right. You can take the bottle say the pen is the bottle. You fill it with water, punch a hole at the top, and then you turn that upside down and put it at the side of the plant in the bottle, in the container. And that should last you a few days, depending on the size of the hole.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
However, it depends on the plant or the crop that you're growing, because there are some plants that like lots of water and some don't. And anybody knows of a plant that do not like a lot of water?
It seems like the times don't like a lot of water.
Right. Thyme is one of those herbs that like.
Cactus, I didn't mean about plants that actually produce. I said cactus.
No, yeah, but cactus is also
because they store their water.
Right, and there's some cactuses that you eat too.
Yeah.
What about parsley?
Parsley can take a little more water than thyme, but they also like a lot of sun.
Brother Marshall,
Yes, please.
you speak about the seedlings. How soon how much sunlight will you give the seedlings as you transplant them? Would you put them directly in the sun or you put them in the shade?
If you bought them from, if you bought the seedling from a store that supplied them or a nursery, they can actually go straight into the sun.
Okay.
And that's one of the things you got to be careful where you buy your seedlings from. If you buy your seedlings from a store that has them indoors and the sales is not being very fast moving seedling, and it stays in the store for, say, maybe in the store for 2 weeks. When you bring that seedling out from the store and you put it into the garden, it's going to shrink because the sunlight is going to affect it. Because when it was in the store, it wasn't getting any sunlight. But if you buy it from the nursery or seedlings that have just been delivered from the nursery, they are usually grown under greenhouse conditions, and therefore they're accustomed to the sun. So be careful when you buy. Some people buy plants and say, but they die. And that could be one of the reasons that they die.
They got
Right?
shocked.
Yeah, the shock, right. Okay, now let's look at the advantages here. Anybody could identify what we have here? Anybody think they can identify what we have in this box? What type of seedlings we have here?
We have cassava cuttings.
Yeah, we have cassava down here. Yeah. Anybody know what these are?
They look like a cabbage.
Lettuce?
Shiny cabbage or
Shiny
lettuce?
cabbage.
Nope.
Oh dear. Lettuce? No.
Nope.
Okay.
That's cucumber.
Okay.
Go back. There you go. Right, that's cucumber in the early stages. Now, so you have seeds. Come on. Right, you have seeds here, like whole set that you can go to the store and buy them. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of having seeds versus seedlings versus cuttings? Now, the cuttings, you can cut and plant straight. The seedlings, you can purchase and plant straight. The seeds, you take the seeds and you sow the seeds in some soil and wet them. The disadvantage of seeds is that you don't know if they will grow. But if you have seedlings, you know they're already growing. So you can put them straight into the ground. So you have a plant already growing. With the seeds now, you have to wait until they germinate. And all seeds do not germinate. Also, the insect tend to take away the seeds. The other thing with the seeds is that some are seasonal. So you go and you buy a pack of seeds and it says sowing time is May. And this is July, so we already missed that sowing season. So you probably got to wait till May next year. Right. Sometimes the seed has an expiry date. And again, when you buy a pack of seeds, there are hundreds of, well, in some cases, like say carrots and so forth, there are hundreds of seeds in there. And if all of them germinate, then you have to look for some, if you don't have enough soil or land to plant them, then you could be wasting them, except you want to share them with somebody else. Cuttings, because they are mature And when you look at when you look at the cuttings, yes, Shepherd, I can see your hand. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
just want to know, how do you, I think it's the correct word for it. Is it graph or is it draft? When you make a plan, a miniature plan, basically, how do you take a normal plan and you make it into a miniature one? I think that's what it is. Or you have like a miniature coconut tree or golden apple tree instead of having the big one, like how it normally grows. How do you graph a plant?
Oh, okay. Well, you probably didn't hear my disclaimer earlier. I'm not an agronomist, but there is some research that is done with that particular seed, so that what we call, sometimes you call genetic engineering, where they actually carry out some research on a particular breed, and they can actually take genes from one plant and put into another one and cross the genes, and you get a dwarf. Just like you can take a mango stalk and do something called budding and grafting, where you can take, say you have a Julie mango as a stalk, and you can take a Bawi and you can graft it in, bud it into that, and you can get that tree producing two different types of fruit, or you can get it producing the other fruit.
So, Brother Marshall,
by just pruning off the one that you want, pruning and leaving the one that you want on. Yes, please. Go ahead.
with reference to what Sister said, isn't there a point where, because I remember doing it from botany, right? Then botany, where you cut off the center, cut off the top. Where you cut the top and like you were saying, no bud and graft, in order to get that miniature thing. That was years ago I did that. So
yeah, you can do that. But I'll show you later on. There's a slide I have there later on.
Okay.
I will bring back up something. Remind me to bring back up that point. Okay. Sister Shepherd, I hope I was able to shed some light onto your question. But there are also some varieties that are specific, where you may have a dwarf, or you may have a big one. Like, I'm sure that passing through barriers now, you will see there's somebody advertising dwarf trees. Where they have done it, what they have done is to reduce the ability of the plant to develop, and therefore cause it to produce at an early stage. All right. Now, look
Marshall, may I ask a question, please? Sorry, I mean, I know you say you're not an agronomist, but sometimes if you put it in a pot and force it to develop, sometimes that can happen too, where it becomes dwarf because you've limited the root development.
Yes, and also you can bud it, sort of like stunt it, keep cutting the top, and it will start to bear early. Now,
okay. Oh, okay, go right ahead. Sorry, I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I want you to identify, now all of these are produce from our gardens. I want you to identify these for me. These are common local fruits.
I see sugar apple.
Sugar apple, yeah.
Passion fruit.
Red fruit.
Passion fruit,
passion fruit,
pomegranate,
pomegranate,
berry,
breadfruit,
paw,
pawpaw,
Coconut.
coconut.
I see you got broad leaf thyme in there too.
broad leaf, yes.
And spinach.
And spinach, yes, spinach is right there at the back.
Yeah.
What is this?
Apple.
A golden apple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, broadleaf thyme and the breadfruit. And right on top of the breadfruit is
pepper.
A pepper, right?
Golden apples were grown here.
Sorry?
Those golden apples were grown in Barbados?
Right in my backyard.
Oh, I gotta talk to you. Okay.
Yeah. So these are lots of fruits that we can grow up. And anybody saw the pawpaw?
Yes.
Papaya?
Mm-hmm.
I said pawpaw earlier.
Right. Curse is not working so good.
How you doing, buddy? How you doing, buddy?
All of these fruit grow for you are coming up there, so just know.
This is some of what the monkey left.
Oh,
the pig.
Yeah.
And the fig and the eggs.
Right. The eggs are free range eggs, yes. And the pig, yeah. That's my fertilizer.
okay.
Now,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah. Now the coconuts, if you see those coconuts, years ago we were told that if you plant a coconut tree, it would take 7 years before it grows. Now those coconuts were imported from the government import those coconuts. I planted a few of those trees about three years ago, and they're bearing. You don't have to climb the coconut tree. You just walk and pick the coconut. You have to bend down to pick the coconut. So that's Sister Shepherd, that's another way of early reproduction. So when you talk about a dwarf tree, what they do is to make it produce early. So those trees you can actually have to bend down to pick those coconuts. Right. So we have papaya, breadfruit, pumpkin, pears, apple, guava. Now, guava has a lot of value, nutritional value in it. Just go on Google these things and you realize there's no need really to import a lot of the stuff that we want to import. The local ones, they taste better. They're chemical free. When you see an apple
lasts longer
and a banana, and it's pretty and still hard, that's chemical that has been sprayed on it to keep it. Look at your local bananas and you realize that your local bananas do not turn yellow. They tend to turn just a little from green to soft, and then they start to get black because there's no gas in it. Yams, sweet potato, white potato, edibles, bananas, plantains, corn, akis, coconut, sugar apple, golden apples, peas, mangoes, herbs, and so forth. Now, you have to know what is the best fruit for you, which food would you like to eat. I want to hear one of the youngsters. Look at that list there and tell me, time is flying. Look at the list and tell me your favorite food in there.
Guavas. I like guavas.
Guavas?
Yeah, I like pineapple, papaya. I like plantain. I like coconut.
How you like your guavas? How you like your guavas? You eat the seeds or you take out the seeds?
I eat everything. You're not authentic with seeds. You're not authentic with seeds. I eat everything.
The skin and everything.
Everything, just watch it and eat it. And even mangoes, I eat skin. I just eat
Okay.
everything.
Right. Okay.
I like tomatoes, I can't stand golden apples.
Tomatoes. Yeah, that's very good. And golden
I-
apple.
I like mangoes,
I too.
apple, and bananas.
Good, good, good. Now, what about white potatoes or what we call English potatoes? Do you know that we grow white potatoes here?
Well, I didn't know that. I tried it. So tell us, there's a
struggling to
lot you
get
gotta
mine.
tell us, Brother Marshall. Go ahead.
Yes, years ago we planted quite a few white potatoes here. So much so that, but my job was in the mechanical mechanization of the industry. So we had device to plant the potatoes, harvest the potatoes, and grade the potatoes. You can check it for Bethel. We did quite a few potatoes there. But you can actually grow white potatoes in a container. You
In
take
my yard.
you take one of the same white potatoes. If you go to the supermarket and you see one start to sprout, you can take that white potato and put it in some soil, cover it, and put it in a container and water it and give it some nutrients, and you can produce white potatoes. However, they tend to like the cooler months of the year.
You have a raised hand. I think Rolanda.
Yeah. A shepherd, yeah, go ahead.
The first apple that's there, is that the gala apple? I like just that seed. First apple. Right, is that the gala apple? The first little apple that is there? We have golden apple, that's the apple.
Golden,
I have 3 gala apples planted, and I was told that if they're normally turn to a mixed cedar from it, they're not good enough to actually eat. So I want to know, in terms of that, what conditions would they need if you know that they'll be edible, so to speak.
the apple you said?
Yeah, okay, you don't import it, those small, if you call it English apple, those small white apples they buy it in store.
Yeah.
I have 3 of those planted.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that if they're bare, they're good enough to make cedar and not actually eat how we would normally eat them. So I'm wondering under what conditions can they put them that if you know that they'll be good enough to actually eat normally.
I'm glad that you got those type of apples growing. Like the Jamaican ackee. The ackee, if you do not allow it to burst and the gas escape, it can be poisonous, very poisonous. The English apple, the seeds also have some cyanide inside them as well. So you gotta be careful when to harvest them. The best thing to do is to wait until they are fully mature and then use them. There's some fruits that you can pick off the tree and put to further ripen, and some are best. Go ahead, Carol.
Excuse me. I want to know what kind of animal is behind the pig.
That's a guinea bird. Very observant. Very, very observant. Now that's a guinea bird right there behind the pig. And that's let me see, right here. That's a guinea bird. And that's part of my security.
I didn't see them for long.
Yeah, I have 6 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
But the Marshall, yeah, I know. So you're, if I'm right, you said you have got apples growing in your garden, right?
Yeah.
Is it the ones that you cook? Because there are 2 kinds. One that you cook and one that you eat directly off the tree.
The one that you go to market and you buy, the smaller.
Yeah, the one you're going to buy, yeah. Is that what you have in your garden? Is that what you're saying, Brother Marshall?
No, I have those.
No, I don't have.
Oh, okay. You have those, Rolanda, you have those, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's recommending that wait until they're fully ripe before you pick them. Is that?
Yeah,
okay.
that's okay. All right, so here we have not only talking but doing. If you look to the left of your screen, that's potatoes, and those potatoes are growing. We talk about controlling the weed. Here we have some weed. They're not really inside, but they're outside, and the sheep would control. I'll cut them for the sheep. But this garden here, we talk about garden bed. There's no insecticide, no pests being used in this garden at all. No artificial fertilizers used either. A pig was the area which I had raised a pig, and then I decided to turn it into a garden. So just fork it and plant the slip, and there you have all the fertilizer in it. Now, Ukraine produces a lot of fertilizer, and because of seeds, and because of the war, there is a shortage of fertilizer around the world. So we have to use compost, and talking about compost, there are 3 friends in your house, which I want you to always remember and treat them as friends. 1, see this? What's this?
Onion?
Eggshell. This is your friend. For your garden, let's take the eggshell, crush it,
break them in.
and put them in your garden, and good fertilizer.
Yeah. Banana peel skin.
Eat the banana.
Take
the banana skin, put it in some water, cover down the water, and then after a day or 2, you can take that water and you can spray your crops. How many of you throw away this?
Not me, I throw it in my garden. The patch I got up there.
Tea bags, your good friend. Again, take your tea bags. Do not throw them away. We're talking about recycle. Use your tea bags. Just rip it open.
Yep.
And when you mix all of these together, that is simple compost. Along with your peelings and so forth, you can go. All right. Then what is this? The middle one. What's the middle one?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. All right. Now, how is the pumpkin grown? By seed, seedlings, or cuttings?
Seedlings.
Not seedlings. Seeds.
They're easily grown. They're the dark reaction plant.
Right. Okay. So we have seedlings. Yes, you can go out to the nursery and can get them as seedlings. You can get them.
Can you mute your mic, David, please?
Say again.
I was asking David if he could mute his mic, please. Somebody getting feedback on somebody.
Yeah. Right. David, Galaxy. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You can also use seeds. Now, if you want to get a really big pumpkin, you plant the seed upside down.
Really? Didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. And you get a large pumpkin. But it
Wait,
depends on
what
what
does that mean?
depends
What
on what
it don't mean?
depends on what you want. Depends on what you want to achieve. If you want to have a marketable size pumpkin, because the pumpkin vine will grow more than you can eat. So if you want to sell some, you don't want them too big, because if not, you have to cut them and sell them a slice. But if you have them as marketable size, somebody will buy a whole one from you. Yeah, I see those hands. But just to answer the first question there on upside down. This is the seed. This is I don't know if you can see. This is a peanut seed that I have here. And one point is pointed and the other one is round. So if you want to grow big one, let the point be sticking down into the ground and the broad part up, and you can get very large pumpkins. All right. All the hand is up and Shepherd's hands up. Who's going first?
Okay. I don't know how true it is, but you can tell me if it is any truth in it. I grew up hearing that if you have a pumpkin vine and it keeps running and it don't bear, you take it and you shake the end. And I don't know what happens by shaking it, probably shake off the first blossom, and then eventually it will bear. I don't know how true. I have to go, but I can't even go and ask my father now because he passed.
You should ask him what he's like. Now, there is the pumpkin. Let me see. I can use. I'll use my slip. The vine is running, and you have the fruits bearing on all along from the stem going right up. And they're drying off. They're getting yellow and drying off. What you do, which has the same effect, Sister Ola, as shaking the leaves. When you shake the leaves, what you actually do is to shake off the blossom and prevent it from bearing. The breadfruit tree is a typical example. A breadfruit tree be laden with breadfruits, but it can only support so much. So it start to allow a lot of them to drop so that some will mature. So with the pumpkin vine, and it's running and it's not bearing, just blossoming, maybe you don't have enough bees to pollinate it, or maybe it has it's bearing, but they're not maturing. What you do is to take a clippers at the edge and you remove the end, or your finger, and remove the end. That prevents the vine from running because it needs energy to run to grow. So the energy that would normally be used to grow is now staying in this part here and causing the fruits here to develop and to get big. So shaking off would be actually like shaking off some of the blossom, but what you're doing here now is to bud it and just pinch the parts that pinch out the center of the ones that are running and prevent it from running and allow the fruits to remain and to get the nutrients here, because this part is taking away all the nutrients. Nutrients is going up and going to the end all the time. So you want some nutrients to remain down here. So you start the running and those fruits will get big.
Thanks.
Yeah. Sister Shepherd, go ahead.
Since we're on the topic of fertilizer, what about seaweed as compost. You ever try seaweed as compost? We touched on it. Well, my brother and I touched on this sargassum seaweed, and we made compost from it. And we found that it was actually growing. The plants were growing a bit faster than the normal compost that we also do. So, what about seaweed as compost? Would that be like a good?
Yes,
It's a bit harder to maintain, but would that be a good thing for your plants? Like if you constantly put it.
yes, the seaweed is good compost. However, you have to be careful with the salt water that's in it. So when you take it, get it from the sea, you need to wash out some of the salt water out of it and allow it to dry. And yes, that is good. And put it in combination with, you can put that in combination with other leaves and so forth to make a compost. And a good way to any good farmer do is to test instead of just taking and throwing. You have a bed and you throw everything on the bed. You try it on a small patch first and see the effects there before you think, because this seaweed is a new thing for us. Some people are making it and some people are getting good results from it. Also, molasses from the factory. If you take molasses and you put 2 or 3 teaspoonfuls into a gallon of water and shake it up, and you can use that as fertilizer for your plants, and your yields increase. So there are a lot of local things that we can use before playing. Now our time is running. Yes, it's all of your hand is up. All right. All right.
What about
Next.
adults? I don't see you have adults.
No, I do have adults, but I didn't want to put everything. How to grow adults. Now, to grow adults, you know the adult plant, you know the plant itself. You wait till the plant is fairly mature, and you remove that. Say you dig a hole of adults and you take off the adults. What we call the adder head then.
Right.
You take the adder head, you remove all the dry leaves from around the adder head, and you cut the adder head like you're making a sandwich. You're making sandwiches. So about 2 inches, about an inch in diameter, in thickness, an inch in thickness, an inch to about 1.5 inches, 2 inches maximum. So you have, this is the adult head here, right? So you take all the dry leaves from down here, then you cut it around here. Okay. Cut it around here. And then you can cut that into 4.
Like you do the yam.
Like you do the yam. And the cut side will be up in the air, and you press the little eyes in the side. Yeah.
How long before you reap?
Adults, depending on the condition, could be about 9 weeks. 9 months. Right. A lot depends on soil. Now, next is the cassava. All right. So we're going to, how much time? My time is up. Well, let's run through this quickly. All right. So there's some types of gardens. We have tile gardens. We have pot gardens, ponds, tubs, and then you have garden beds and fields. Fields are like when you have a lot of land. Garden beds is like what you just saw there, where you just dig the soil up and you plant. Pans and old tubs and old stoves and old refrigerators, you just fill them with some soil and you can plant whatever you want in there. You can even plant in a plastic bag. So gardens could be anything. You plant the things that you like, and you go from there. The materials to grow good food, we need water. You need water. You need soil, water. You need soil. You need a container, and you need tools. Fertilizer, you need to control your weeds. It is important that you control your weeds before they get out of hand. There's no need to use chemical in your gardens. Plant, allow them to grow, watch them grow, and then it's harvest time. This takes time, energy, and love. Referred to as tender, loving care, TLC. Here you have, in this garden, we have cauliflower, they're growing. And if you look to the left of the cauliflower, here, that's an indication that you had some pest damage. It also indicates that this person did not use a lot of chemicals, and this plant would be a lot healthier to eat. So when you see a plant and there's no sign of damage, no sign of insect biting, you know that that plant has been laden with chemicals. Sometimes you see cabbage, pretty, no insect. If you look at the cauliflower here in the pancart, again, that is sign of damage. This will tell you that there's not much chemical that was used in the production of this crop. And sometimes you can actually smell the chemicals in the crops. Chinese cabbage grows easily, like a lot of water, but they're also, you have to be very, very careful with the worms like them. So you have to monitor to them every set. Homegrown food tastes better because not only it tastes better, you know what chemicals you put through it. It tastes better and it's more enjoyable. Now, for Baba, who has a lot of land, these are some of the tools that you will need if you're going to have a garden bed. You have a shovel, you have a small fork, a large fork, a hoe. You need a watering pot that somebody was asking about. And of course, you need a bench, because especially if you're getting to my age, instead of bending over.
For old people.
Right, old people, we sit down and we pull the weeds. But then what is critical for your pot gardens, here is, you need a little hand fork, you need a little spade to help take up the soil and put in the pots. You need a rake, and then you need a pruning tool at the end to help control. Anytime that you see the plant the leaves starting to wither or anything, take them off. They have a disease, take them off, separate them from the thing. The chemical, this is actually my wife's garden. So the chemical that we use, you see white line? For the slugs, that's the chemical that we use. You can use pot salt. You see the thyme that is growing, and you see the cabbage that is growing. And these are all growing in a container. And this container is an old street light, believe it or not. Growing your food, why to grow your own food? You know it is expensive to buy food. It is not always convenient to get the food that you want. So you buy it, you grow it, so that you know what you are putting in. And as Pastor Blackman said, if you don't like okras, and you're not planting the okras for somebody else, then you plant carrots. If you don't like carrots and you like squash, you plant squash. Plant the foods that you know that you can enjoy and share with somebody. Of course, there are other things that you and growing your own food that you would need to take into consideration. Where to grow? Do I have enough space? It don't make sense trying to grow pumpkin, yams, and those when you only have a little space that can only hold 2 pots. One pea tree can give you a few pints of peas. No problem. So you plant your pea tree, and just as the beer, you take out a few like me, pick them, shell them, and put them in a plastic bag in the fridge until you get a pint. So how to grow your food is important. When to grow your food is even more important. Don't wait until the crisis, like what we're having now, then to start planting. Yeah. Go ahead, Sister Baba.
Yeah, I had asked you this question on Sunday, but I guess I can share.
You're dropping out.
I have some on the leafy tree, the leaves. You can hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah. So I underneath the leaves of the pepper trees had this blight, and it gone on Google and they tell me I can use vinegar. So I use part vinegar and water and spray the pepper trees.
Mm-hmm.
All the trees burn, the peppers draw off.
Good. That is also a typical example. And sometimes you go on YouTube and they give you things, but they don't give you the quantity. Mm-hmm. So your mixture may have been too strong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, make sure you may have used too much strong. But a good solution that you can use is some soap water, dishwashing liquid. Put a few drops of the dish washing liquid in a container, and then just put 1 or 2 drops of cooking oil into it. And the cooking oil helps it to stick onto the plant. And that kills the sucking insects that is on the plant.
That works.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah, thanks.
Maybe like for the white fly too. You can do that's the white fly.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, the white fly horse is usually not far from your garden. So if you can destroy or get rid of the horse, it makes it easy. Whitehead bush. I don't know if you know the whitehead bush. The youngsters may not remember the whitehead bush, but the whitehead bush is a little green bush, has a little white flower. Right. Now that is a host for a lot of the whitefly. So if you have that around your garden, you need to get rid of that. That is why we talk about controlling your weeds. Your weeds is important because most of the time the weeds are where the insect and the pests lives.
So hibiscus is a host for the whitefly then?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, hibiscus. If you look under the hibiscus leaves, sometimes you see a lot of white stuff in there as well. But hibiscus is also a nice tea.
Yeah, it's not weed, but I guess.
And it's also bears a flower, and that flower makes it easy for the bees to come and to germinate and pollinate your flowers. Thank you very much. I think we have, sorry to have taken you so long, but if there are any other more pressing questions, you can ask them. So basically what we're saying, to grow your own food, you can use any container that's available. You need water, and you need soil, and you need fertilizer. You need to be constantly aware of your plants, monitor them, look for insects, control the insects, look for the pests, control the pests. A centipede is a good, believe it or not, centipedes are good for the farmers. Anytime you dig up a potato and you see a centipede running from it, you can be assured that your potato is almost insect-free. So centipedes are farmers' friends. Keep away from chemicals, and if in selecting your containers, avoid using containers that had contained chemicals before, because the plants would use those, would absorb the same chemical. Right.
But I'm not sure what about Epsom salts and water.
Epsom salts and water, that is a good remedy as well. Also, that has the same effect as to keep away blight and so forth, as planting the aloes under the lime tree. That helps to keep away the blight.
So the aloes stop blight. Okay, I didn't know that. You still have a lot of information for us on your head. So we can use the half cans to do the potatoes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can take a half. Now that you have all these fancy containers, fancy garbage containers now, you can take the old drum you had that was your garbage container, and that can give you 2 good gardens. However, you got to make sure that the garden or the pots, whatever you are using, must have holes at the bottom so that the plants don't become saturated. The water must be able to run through. The roots can pick up what they want, but the excess water must be able to flow out. So your containers must have holes at the bottom.
Okay, a very interesting session. Any pressing questions? Any things that, because you need to start growing your food, because then we can share it with one another. So any questions that we that you need to start you growing your food? I actually had an apple and I saved my seeds because I'm going to try one of these gala apple trees. Any questions? We really thank everybody for joining.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Marshall, in the local foods, you didn't mention, well, I came in a little late, so I'm not sure, but I didn't hear you mention the local cherry in terms of its nutritional value, which is even many times greater in vitamin C than the orange. Any comments on that?
Yes, thanks for that, because the especially now with COVID, a cherry, because the body does not store vitamin C, you can take a cherry a day, and that's good. That's enough for a local cherry, and that's enough for your supply of vitamin C for the particular day. So yeah, thanks for that.
One single?
One single is minimum. One single is minimum. But if you take one a day, that's fine. If you eat 3, 4, 5, if you eat a bowl full, the body is just going to use enough and just dispose of the rest. So it doesn't make sense. But also on that, we also have the Ceremonese Charina that is here. I have one. It hasn't born as yet, but
Never heard of that
Thanks for
one.
that, Vincent. Very good question, Vincent. Thanks.
Never heard of that one. It's ceremony. What you say?
Yeah, ceremonies, cherry.
That's the one that's selling in the supermarket, right? The nice round one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can really experiment and see what we can do with the fruit that we really love. Because I know that the apple is need a temperate area, but if Rolanda could get hers bare, I mean, I could try that too.
Yeah. I think it's like Christophine. Although Barbados is small, you will find that Christophine will do well in the colder parts of the country, parts where like St. Joseph and St. Thomas, where the nights are colder. If you plant Christophine down the side and the nights are not cold, then they don't do as well as if they plant in the high parts of the country. So it all depends on growing your food. There are certain foods that will grow well in certain places and other foods will not grow well.
Okay, I don't hear any other
Location.
questions.
Brother Marshall,
That's good.
I chose potato, the English potato, the
Yeah.
Edo, and sweet potato. They're all buried and they're springing. The other day I gone and I'm pulling up a weed, and as you said, I pull up a part of a slip and I got a little potato at it.
Right. So
A sweet potato.
yeah, you can grow. You can go on YouTube, and it's amazing the amount of things that you can see and things that we take for granted. I did a course in smart agriculture from Israel while we were on the shutdown, and it's amazing what the Israeli do with their limited resources in terms of land and water. Israel is one of the driest places on earth, and the technology that they have. And I would encourage the youngsters to go into agriculture. It's a fascinating area that you can really study, and it's something that you have to enjoy it. If you're not going to enjoy it, stay out of it. I enjoyed it in my years. I'm still enjoying it.
Okay. See your results. And you have a guinea birds, watchman, and all those kind of things. So you utilize everything. All right. So somebody has a raised hand. Rolando, go ahead.
Yeah, just curious. Are we gonna have a session where we can frame our frustrations about agriculture as well? I have a lot of frustration in the whole Barbados operate with their agriculture sector. We have a session on that too?
Well, I'll tell you that agriculture is a very ticklish subject, and governments over the years, and I said over the years, have not paid the attention to agriculture that agriculture deserves. It's only when there is a crisis worldwide that we really tend to pay any to give lip service to agriculture. I'm not blowing my trumpet, but I worked with an engineer, and I was here myself. We made the first yam harvester in Barbados. That's in the 70s. I worked with Professor Headley, and he made the first solo oven in the Pine. And this was to take the same mayamasi and to make a feed for animals. And this was in the 70s. Professor Headley gone along, and now we're talking about feed for animals. You know, so we have done some things. that could be done better, having different circumstances. Thank you for your attention, and I want to thank all of those for the technical support and support in the presentation of this. Do have a great evening. Over to Pastor Blackman.
Thank you, Brother Marshall. And you can grab hold of Brother Marshall at church and ask any questions as we start doing our project. We want to put some feet on it, put it into practice. We want to experiment because it's an area that we can experiment. I thank so many people for joining us this evening. We have Ava, we had Shauna, we had Brother Vincent, we had Brother Henderson, we have Reverend Wooden. We have so many people for joining us. Cassandra, we want to thank you for joining. I hope people that you spent time, that we're going to spend time doing and not only listening. So I know some of us have already started, but we want to hear about the produce that you're producing and the experimentation, the white potatoes that you're going to be using, that you grow, and the banana peels, because I know you throw a lot of banana peels that we'll be using. So thank you so much. We're going to ask
Pastor Blackman.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can have a whole thing harvest.
Yeah, or bring in all the things.
Yeah.
So with crops, will that be in 6 months' time?
That could work.
All right. Okay. So thank you everybody for joining us. Rolanda, you want to pray for us and close out, please?
All right. Dear God, I thank you for this session. It was quite enjoyable and informative. I pray that you bless everyone that came out tonight. Lord, may you bring them every night or just every youth service. Thank you for Brother Marshall, his information. You bless him and his produce and his family as well. Thank you for bringing us through the week, Father God. And I think for everything you have done for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, thank you. I suspect though that we're going to need to have a follow-up session when we start growing and we having issues with pests or anything. We're going to need Brother Marshall to help us get ourselves organized, because it seemed to be could be frustrated. You could get some frustrations on something you have to persist on. So next week we're going to be having an session by Melanie Brown on All In. So see you next week at the same time, same place. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Same to you.
Good night.